Welcome back, everybody, for episode 2 of my Will It Run series on the barn rescued snapper chipper shredder. When we left off last, we were able to determine that there was a fuel problem, likely in the carburetor. So I was going to try to spray out the high and low speed jets without disassembling it, hoping to get lucky and not have to do a complete rebuild or replacement. So come along and let's see how that worked out. Okay, we're back at the bench. There was a lot of gunk in that jet down there, and I don't know, looks like everything blew out clean. We're gonna go ahead and put this back in. I don't need to worry about the adjustment setting because I didn't turn the screw. And we're going to put the idle back in, and that was set at 1 1/4 turns from the bottom. So gently bottom it out, 1/4 turn, half, 1. My concern with the gunk in the jet down there is that there might be a bunch of garbage in that float bowl. I don't know. If I do take it apart, I know I'm going to have to buy a kit to replace that gasket. So let's just see. Let's put this back together, and if I got lucky, it's going to work. If not, then I really don't have a choice but to tear it apart and do a full rebuild. Let's go back over to the shredder. Let's put the carb back on. Okay, carburetor's back on, fuel line's hooked up. Let's open up the fuel shutoff valve. Give the fuel a few seconds to reach the carburetor. I don't see anything leaking, which is good. Let's go ahead and put the choke on, see if we can get it to start. Nothing. Let's hit the carb cleaner. Just confirm we don't have another problem going on here. Yep. All right, well, that wasn't as good as I'd hoped, but at least it ran under its own power for a little bit. I think the carburetor's still gummed up. Let's mess with this a little bit more and see if we can get it to keep running. Yeah, that carburetor definitely needs some more work. Let's It's wanting to go, but it's just not wanting to stay running under its own power. So I don't really have a choice. I'm going to have to pull this back off, tear it apart, see if I can do that without buying a kit. Off camera, I disassembled the carburetor and was able to confirm that it is a bit of a mess. I went online, I priced rebuild kits and the other parts that I needed, and just decided that trying an inexpensive aftermarket replacement's probably the best way to go for now. It's a week later and we're back out in the garage because the parts I ordered finally came in. I picked up a new gas cap because remember the one that's on there's broken. I bought a nice large fuel filter for it. My experience with this older machinery is there's always some amount of garbage in a fuel tank, and if you don't put a fuel filter on it, you're just going to be chasing problems. And I also bought a new spark plug. We know the engine fires up with the one that's in there, but for all I know, it could be the original spark plug. So it's just time to put a new one in. I also picked up, instead of rebuilding the carburetor, I opted just to buy an aftermarket what they call a tune-up kit, which is a carburetor and some other stuff. It came with an air filter and a pre-filter. This I needed, and some of the stuff in this box I'm going to use. Some of it, honestly, is just better thrown in the trash can. But let's see what we've got in here. So we've got this stuff that roughly passes as fuel line. There's no reinforcement in it. I don't think I'm going to use that. We've got the carburetor. Everything looks okay on this. Does look like a nice match for the aftermarket or for the original. Everything moves as it should. I'm hoping that there's something resembling a factory setting in the high speed and the low speed adjustments. Otherwise, we're going to be chasing that around for a bit. And then also in the box, these are nice and handy, little brushes to clean out jets when you're cleaning out a carburetor. And we've got a bunch of, wasn't supposed to come with all of these, but it comes with a bunch of these little fuel filters that, I guess I'd use them on a push mower or something. Came with a fuel shutoff valve, which is nice. It's always good to have an extra. And a gasket and some clamps. These kits always come with a spark plug. And the best thing you can do with these spark plugs is throw them in the trash. Do you think this thing's going to work really well? It's just spinning loose like that. Not a good idea. This thing can go right in the garbage can. But we got our new carb. We got all our other new parts. So let's get them installed and let's see if this thing runs. Okay, the more I look at this, the more I think that there's just not going to be enough room between the tank, this little guide, and the carburetor to put this big giant fuel filter. I don't think it can make that bend. So I've got a decent little smaller filter. I'm going to put that in there, and I'm just going to replace this fuel line. It's pretty old. It's pretty stiff, and I've got sections of new stuff. Just to show you a comparison, see if you can see this. The fuel line on the right is the stuff that came with the kit. The fuel line on the left is some really good reinforced fuel hose. They are the same 1/4-inch ID, but you can see the big difference between the two and why I'm not going to use the stuff that came with the kit. It just looks like garbage. So we got our fuel shut off. Let's go ahead and pull this fuel line off. See if I can do that without having to take the hopper or anything like that off of there. Not sure I like that. Let's take and cut that line. Ouch. That doesn't want to cooperate. That definitely needs to be replaced. That's in horrible shape. There we go. I think we're going to put the filter right in about there. Okay, got our fuel line in. Time to go ahead and put the carburetor on. Look up the governor linkage. That's not going to work. Wrong bolts. Okay, well, we're going to have to run a tap through this thing. Okay, we're back. I don't know what size threads were in this. They're supposed to be 1/4x20. That did not have the right thread size in there. I guess that's what happens when you buy cheap aftermarket stuff. So thankfully, I've got a tap and die set, and I've got a rethread set because I really need a bottom die to get here. But I was able to retap it. You might just ask, why didn't I just get some bolts that fit the carburetor and use those instead? Fair question. The reason is because this particular bolt has got a shoulder on it for the air intake. So I've got to use the bolts that I've got. So let's get this thing hooked up. See, this bolt goes through the top of here and secures the air intake in place. If I just went to the hardware store and bought some random bolts, they were not going to work for this. Although I suppose I could have probably got some washers or something and made that work, but it's easier just to retap the thing and put it in there right. The breather in there. Let's tighten this down. There's our choke, our adjustments. Oop. I'm still wondering if this isn't supposed to go here, because it looks like something should go there, but there's no way that lines up. So that's the way it came. That's the way I'm going to keep it. I'm not going to bother putting the air filter in quite yet. No real reason to. Just want to see if it's going to run. So let's cut the fuel line to length. Let's get put a clamp on there. Get this a little down to size. Okay, got the carb on, got the fuel filter in. We'll pop a new spark plug in the top, and we're going to see if this thing's going to fire. Okay. Still got some fuel in there. Got our new gas cap on. Wheels chalked up. Let's open up the fuel. Let's hope we don't see anything leaking. That wouldn't be much fun. I don't see any leaks. I think we're good. Looks like there's fuel in the fuel filter. Let's close the choke. Governor linkage is moving. Let's see if she starts. Okay, we got another problem somewhere. All right, let's see what we got. Okay, so what I had to do to get it started was I had to shoot carb cleaner. Off camera, I shot it in a spark plug hole, got it to fire up, and then it stayed running. And then as you saw, I shot some in the carb and got it running. But while it was running the first time, you probably saw it on camera when I decided to shoot video of it. This gasket right here is leaking. And that's definitely going to be a problem trying to get it running, because it's going to suck air, not through the carburetor, but through that broken gasket. So I'm going to have to pop that off, put a new gasket on, and we'll see if it wants to run without the carb cleaner. Well, folks, that looks like as good a place as any to wrap up episode 2. When we come back for episode 3, we'll pull the intake manifold off, see if all we have to do is replace that gasket, get this engine running like it should. Thank you again for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you on another episode.